China has released a fresh set of cybersecurity measures to further improve the regulatory oversight of the internet sector. The measures for internet security review has been jointly released by 13 ministerial agencies led by the Cyberspace Administration of China, or CAC. Now, for more on the new regulations, let's bring in my co-anchor, Kate Kui. So, Kate, according to the CAC, it will require platform companies with data for more than 1 million users to undergo a security review before listing their shares overseas starting February 15. So that's very soon from now, isn't it?
Yes, indeed. This cybersecurity review measures was released actually the first working day of 2022, and right after the successful IPO debut in Hong Kong of SenseTime, one of the leading Asia AI companies, about a week ago. So what does that mean, and what are the implications? This will generate profound repercussions globally, I would assume. So we are now having two guests from law firms. One is the partner of Commerce and Law, Cui Kangkang, who is a veteran lawyer in this field and has been practicing numerous US IPOs and Hong Kong IPOs for Chinese issuers. So Kangkang, good to have you here. Can you hear me?
Yes, Kate.
What are the implications, frankly speaking, and what are the purposes that this review, even though still draft for comments, are going to serve to all the issuers?
The draft of cybersecurity review measure for comments was issued in July last year, and today the CAC published cybersecurity review measures, which will take effective from February 15, 2022. This measure intends to protect the key information infrastructure, supply chain safety, and also to protect network security and data security. In particular, since the internet is comprehensively used in our daily activities, so the protection of user data is very important. So this measure is also applied to all the online platform operators.
Right. You talked about the online operators, and I noticed previously, in a previous version of the drafts for comments, there is a concept called data handlers, but this time the name was changed to internet platform operators. Why such change?
Yeah, I think it's because the data processor is quite a large concept. And normally, because the internet is quite largely used in currently, so I think the government will precisely to regulate the online platform operator, because currently such company normally holds large amount of databases.
Right, so theoretically speaking, all the online internet platforms, including Meituan, including Didi, including JD and Alibaba, are all subject to such review. But I know they're public companies already, but assuming they're still public, they will all be subject to this kind of scrutiny.
I think based on the new measures, it has already indicated that the online platform operator which holds more than 1 million user data should take a cybersecurity review before overseas listing. So literally, I think if the company want to go to IPO, they may subject to such a cybersecurity review. It is not clear whether or not the listed company, such as Jingdong, Meituan, or Bilibili, or Xie, those companies will subject to this review. Also, because normally such company will have offshore financing, such as the issue the new shares or the convertible bonds offering. So it's not very clear. So we need to further clarify that with the government authorities for this concept, whether or not it's applied.
Right. Do you think this actually give a certain hope to companies like Didi to return to Hong Kong market?
I think so. I think if the Didi has conduct a cybersecurity review as required by the CAC and follow all the procedure and provide all the requirement documents, I think once the CAC approved I think DD may to go listing. Yeah.
Great, thank you so much.
I think it's a good news. Yeah.
Great. Thank you so much, Kangkang. That is Cui Kangkang, the senior partner from Commerce and Law, a PRC counsel in China. Michelle.
So, Kate, now we've got this new set of rules and guidelines, and clearly there's more certainty and more clarity, which is a good news, like you guys just mentioned. So now the question is, what's next, right? How is it going to be executed exactly?
Right, I think you're absolutely right. Now we have a guideline, but frankly speaking, how to carry out this guideline, there are a lot of execution processes going forward too. Those are actually very critical. If you cannot get all those details right, frankly speaking, this guideline cannot actually be executed well. And on the other hand, I think as what Cui Kangkang mentioned, one thing is very important, which is this actually cleared a lot of uncertainties on the market. We all know that uncertainty is probably the biggest enemy in a market. Market tumbles because of the uncertainty, but now we at least have some clarities. And then I think issuers, they will know what kind of rules to follow, what kind of protocols that they need to follow. And if they do want to clear this data security issue, which department they can go, and what kind of approval process that they should apply for. So therefore, without this kind of uncertainty, I think issuers can get themselves better prepared. What do you think, Michelle?
So you would think, and overall, would this be good news for issuers trying to list abroad?
Right, I think actually this at least will encourage issuers to rethink or balance their listing plans. Previously, for quite a while, issuers, they're kind of lack of directions. They don't know which direction to go. Because frankly speaking, on one hand, the US market is not actually welcoming Chinese issuers. SEC sends a lot of restrictions and rules. But on the other hand, the Chinese government is also putting more restrictions on the data side, which I think is positive. The regulations are needed. However, the lack of clarity, this part now is removed. So I think it's genuinely positive.
So does that mean there's more scrutiny also? And would this be a good news also for the Hong Kong market, because that would mean it's much easier, right, to list in Hong Kong?
Yes, absolutely. But with that question, I think now we have Kevin Duan. Kevin Duan is a senior partner from HanKun Law Offices, and he's situated in Beijing. So, Kevin, can you hear me clearly?
Sure, no problem, Kate.
Right. So, Kevin, I would want to ask you this question. Looking at this cybersecurity review drafts released today, would you say that Chinese government is actually giving Hong Kong board certain favor? Because on surface, taking face value, it seems that for companies, they're getting listed in Hong Kong, they do not need to go through all those data security check scrutiny process. Am I understanding it correctly?
I think so, and that's likely the case because we have seen here that the Hong Kong listing is likely to be exempted from the mandatory cybersecurity review obligations. And that is a good news for those issuers who are seeking the chance, given that they will have less uncertainty to be prohibited from listing due to data security concerns. And also, time-wise, this is another advantage that given that the cybersecurity review may take up to 9 months if it goes through all the stages. And with that being exempted, I think that definitely encourages issuers to go to Hong Kong for listing.
So to summarize what you just said, you're basically saying the Chinese government is encouraging issuers to go to Hong Kong, especially those issuers with data related.
Yes, when companies are seeking to be listed overseas and when they choose, between Hong Kong and US, for example, I think Hong Kong is definitely more favorable in that context.
Right, so how would you advise your clients now? You are going to follow that suit as well and asking them just to go listed in Hong Kong instead of United States because of the regulation per se?
I think that's really depending on the industry that you are in. Because right now, the regulations doesn't necessarily shut down the entire door for U.S. listing. It's just, put all more like regulations or obligations for those companies with more data, sensitive data, or data security concerns they're trying to list, say, in a foreign country. So if you are issued in a less sensitive industry, handling less data or less sensitive data, let's put it that way, U.S. listing may still be an option. Doesn't necessarily mean you have to go to Hong Kong. But if an industry, well, is data sensitive and data heavy, Hong Kong listing seeming to be a more, wiser choice for you.
Right. How would you comment on the recent successful debut of SenseTime in Hong Kong?
I think that's it's just another example that Hong Kong will somehow to be a venue that would be able to list in those 8 companies, even with more like larger volume of data or more like more relatively sensitive data, because you see the SenseTime as a good example of that, which in the contrast seemingly to be very difficult to be listed in the States. So if you're in a similar position to SenseTime, Hong Kong listing may be in a way out and may eventually make the listing more smoothful and less painful.
Right. So my last question is, what kind of immediate hurdles you foresee during the execution process? Because this is supposed to be carried out very soon in February 15th.
Yeah, I think that right now the regulations is actually very comprehensive. It sets out all the procedures that you need to follow. But on the other side, if you go onto the implementation level, it's not so clear to us what kind of templates that you need to follow when you prepare documentations, and so those kind of things. So you will expect some back and forth when you submit the documents with the cybersecurity review offices, and when you actually in the review procedure. But other than that, I think the regulations is very complete, and a lot of things may be followed starting from February 15th.
Great. We're looking forward to more detailed policies. Back to you, Michelle.
Thank you very much, Kay, for all the insights, and thank you so much for our guests as well.